Willow and I were in love for 7 years. From the day we met in a college lecture hall to the day we started chasing careers in 2 different cities. She kept saying long distance was just a test, so I believed her and funneled every drop of my overtime pay into the flower shop she'd always dreamed of opening. Then I opened Instagram, clicked on her best friend's story, and saw Willow locked in a barefoot beach kiss with a stranger in Bali. The caption read, 7-year itch. Nah. True love's unstoppable. I powered the phone off, and my blood ran ice cold. True love's unstoppable. Fine, my revenge will be, too. The screen glare was a sickly white, stabbing my eyes. 11:30 p.m., I just clocked out. The only things still awake were a couple of fluorescent tubes humming above the cubicles, and the sour stink of day-old coffee and warm printer paper. My gut cramped. I realized I'd skipped dinner again. I unlocked the phone and tapped the top contact. Night. Video call request rang out. Nobody picked up. Probably still closing up. I thumbed a text, still at the shop. Beat 8, and attached $5,000 with a note. Treat yourself to something decent. The money was claimed instantly. The typing bubble danced, then stopped. Finally delivering one line, just finished inventory erect. Heading home. Got the cash. Love you Zane, followed by a red lip sticker. I stared at that crimson mouth, pulled a thin smile, and answered drive safe. Text when you're in. The phone hit the desktop with a dull thud. 7 years, since the afternoon she destroyed me in a campus debate. Her ponytail whipping like a flag. Until last month, when she signed the lease on a tiny corner storefront, and people started calling her Willow. Long distance is brutal. She's down in sunny Eastbrook. I'm up in Riverdale's Steel Forest. 1,000 miles of highways and flights between us. But every video chat ended with her eyes sparkling over some new Dutch rose shipment and the promise, Zane. The minute we're seriously in the black, I'll move north and we'll never spend another night apart. That kept me going. My paycheck still auto-route to her account. I shut the laptop and stood. Joints cracked like cheap plastic. Inside the elevator, the stainless steel doors threw back a blurred ghost of me, cheeks hollow, eyes bloodshot. The phone buzzed again, but not from Willow. It was Ivy, Willow's ride-or-die roommate since freshman year. Zane, still up? Ivy wrote, just left the office. I answered, longing for my shoebox studio and instant ramen. A pause. Then wow, Bali water really is cobalt. Someone's living the dream. Attached to a photo. I tapped to open. Wham! Something inside snapped. Sunlight so bright it looked fake. Postcard blue water. Sugar white sand. Center frame. A woman laughed wide enough to split her face. The guy wore clown print board shorts. Bronze torso on full display. One hand on the small of her back. The other cupping her head as they kissed like they were trying to inhale each other. That woman I'd know charcoal black. Willow. My Willow. Timestamp in the corner. 3:17 p.m. local. Today, while half an hour ago she told me she was still tidying shelves and heading home. Ivy followed up, oops. Forgot to hide that from you. Willow said not to spoil the surprise. Pretend you never saw. Okay, she'll explain once she lands, capped with a string of mortified emojis. The elevator opened onto the garage. Cold damp air stinking of gasoline and concrete dust. I couldn't move. My fingertip hovered over the screen. Over Willow tangled with that stranger. Ivy's caption, 7-year itch. Nah. True love's unstoppable. Needled my pupils like venom-coated pins. Explain. I killed WhatsApp. Powered the screen to black. Darkness swallowed everything except the elevator's ceiling tube glaring down at me. Bleaching my reflection. My blood kept rushing but carried zero heat. It felt crystallized. Shards grating the walls of every vein with a screech only I could hear. 7 years of warmth. Trust. Every soft focus future. Pulverized by a single square photograph. Not even dust left. I pressed my palm to my left ribs. No pain, just a silent crater exhaling freezer air. True love's unstoppable. Sure. The doors glided shut. The last thing in the narrowing metal gap was my own eyes. Whatever used to float in them sank and isn't coming up again. The phone died completely, an obsidian headstone. The motion sensor lights overhead clicked off because I'd stood still too long. Black pressed in, thick as tar. Only a distant security blink on somebody's SUV winked red. The heartbeat of something about to flatline. I flexed frozen knuckles and relit the screen. That image flashed back, huge and mocking. Willow's joy, raw, unguarded, was a version I hadn't seen in years. The man's face meant nothing to me. Symmetrical, influencer level handsome, belonging to a specific LA, Bali circuit. True love's unstoppable. Ivy's caption glowed like a brand on my retinas. I exited WhatsApp, slid to the green phone icon, opened a contact. Parker. college roommate, now a big deal data miner for a southern media monitoring firm. 2 rings. Yo, Zane, you drunk dialing your bro? His voice was gravel, a baby crying somewhere behind him. Park, I'm sending you a pic. I need everything on the guy, and now. Huh, what happened? Important. Clock's ticking. I hung up, forwarded the Bali kiss shot. Silence of a tomb. I heard blood slug through my ears, felt ice splinters scoring every artery. No rage, no tears, only cold arithmetic. I needed data. I needed to hollow the stranger out. 5 minutes. Parker's zipped file landed with a ping. Jesus. Zane, that's Willow. His voice note cracked. Yeah. I typed and opened the folder. Chase. 26. Handles, bro, online. Starwave influencer peddling hashtag travel bad boy vibes, million followers. Half of them bots. Zip held ripped live streams. Bedroom voice. Shark grin. Hotel infinity pools. One spreadsheet listed flights. Another, hotel folios. Willow's name sat beside his at a 5-star Bali resort. Check-in, 7 days ago. Check-out, tomorrow. Payer, supplemental card ending in 4-5-1-2, a mine. Her shop restocking, and his new DSLR rig. Their private pool villa at $800 a night, every line matched. My overtime financed their unstoppable romance. I hovered over Willow's hotel charge, then opened my banking app. Card subcard freeze confirm. A polite alert. Supplemental card successfully suspended. Clean, clinical, like turning off a tap in a sink I'd never use again. Leaning against the elevator wall, I closed my eyes. The photo, the receipts, Ivy's caption, blade spinning in the empty freezer of my chest. 7 years. I'd been a silkworm, spinning paycheck after paycheck into a cocoon labeled a willow. One JPEG tore it open, revealing rot and arithmetic. Time to gather the net. Bali sunlight, nauseating even through glass. Chase's latest replay ran mute. Tight tank. Coconut pool bar. 8-pack on parade. He signed off with, "See ya." Tomorrow night. Babes of Bali bombshells incoming. Wink implied. Bombshell. My stomach lurched with cold disgust. I slammed the lid shut. The dark screen threw back my face, wax pale. Sleepless bruises under the eyes. Gaze flat as slate. Phone buzzed. Willow, voice call. I watched the name dance. Then picked up. Zane Z. She sing-songed over airport tannoy static. Just touched down in Eastbrook. Flight was delayed forever. You in bed? Not yet. You home safe? I asked. Home. Not shop. Huh. Oh. Yeah. Walking in now. Words sprayed too fast. Left Lily watching the store. I'm beat. Went to scout flower markets upstate. Lousy stock. She rambled about tulip bulbs and highway food. So the trip was fun? I cut in. Tone blank. A beat. It was work. Oh, babe, I found Dutch tulip bulbs. Premium, but we need a $5,000 deposit. Could you? Cards frozen. What? Her pitch spiked. Shock. Then panic. Why? How? Fraud alert. Bank flagged weird activity. I'll sort it tomorrow. Don't use it. Activity. I only buy supplies, she snapped. Now accusing. Ask the bank, I murmured. Or ask yourself. The last 3 words were frost. Silence, just her ragged breath. She forced a giggle. Baby, you're overworked. I'll call them first thing. Get some sleep. Voice brittle. Sure. You rest. I bit the word. I killed the call before she could answer. Darkness again. Only the AC hum and a slit of city neon under the curtain. Her final whimper had been a pebble in an ice-covered lake, no ripples. Just deeper chill. She thought the scam was seamless, that I'd keep bleeding dollars into her hunger. Wrong. I opened the browser. Starwave backend, another Parker present. Chase's schedule was fixed, 8 p.m. to 11 p.m. His first show back. Tomorrow 8:30. Teaser headline already up. Bro, returns, Bali secrets unleashed. I smiled, and the reflection looked like it belonged to someone else. Some juicy gossip. I tugged the corner of my mouth and felt a frigid arc freeze on my lips. Then let it spill, every last drop. I picked up a spare phone, factory fresh, never registered, powered it on, opened the app store, downloaded the Starwave Livestream app. Sign up only required a number. I typed in an anonymous burner and created the username, viewer_a, and next. I opened the browser and searched, industrial grade, caustic soda, local supplier, pages flipped, choices everywhere. I needed something colorless, odorless, viscous, fast acting. My eyes locked on one spec sheet, sodium hydroxide pellets, high purity, violet exotherm on contact with water. Perfect. I dialed the supplier. A gravel-voiced man answered. Yeah. What you need? Sodium hydroxide. Industrial. Highest concentration. My voice stayed flat. How much and what for? He was wary, clearing a badly blocked sewer line. Old complex. Years of grease. I named a rundown fringe neighborhood. 50 kilos. 50 kilos. For a drain? He was suspicious. Whole building's main line. Property manager's orders. Cash deal. Urgent. I added, double for rush delivery. Silence on the line. Money beat caution. Tomorrow. 3 p.m. Back gate of Northside Builders Market. Beside the transfer station. Cash. Don't try anything. No worries. I hung up. I set the phone down, went to the window, and lifted the curtain an inch. The city at 3 a.m. was a crouching beast. Neon on distant towers, blinking phony colors without rest. Night air cooled my face. The spark was planted. Tomorrow night I'd watch it burn. Chapter 4. The back gate of Northside Builders Market always stank of cheap cement, rusted rebar, and rotting trash. At 3 p.m. slanting sunlight stretched the green dumpster's shadow halfway across the road. A mud-splashed beater van idled in that shade. I wore a plain cap and mask, gray work jacket, black duffel heavy in my hand. I stepped to the van. The passenger window slid down halfway, revealing a stubbled, bloodshot eye. The voice on the phone. Money. One word. Cigarette bobbing. I cracked the duffel enough for him to see banded hundreds. Greed flashed. He jerked his chin toward the back. A stocky guy in filthy coveralls hopped out, opened the van. Inside, scattered tools, unmarked sacks. He wrestled out two thick white plastic drums, crude NaOH labels taped on. 50 kilos. Pure, Stubble said, flicking ash. Careful. Burns like hell. I nodded. The helper lugged the drums to my battered old Corolla, parked 50 yards away. The plastic knocked together with a dull thunk. I slammed the trunk, sealing in the acrid reek, and shoved the duffel at Stubble. He hefted it, yellow grin showing. Pleasure doing business. Call again. The Corolla rolled away, merging with traffic. Steady speed. No fuss. In the trunk sat Silent Doom. Back in my budget studio, I wrestled the drums into the tiny bathroom, shut the door, pulled on thick rubber gloves and goggles. I cracked a lid. Caustic vapor rushed out, sharp and corrosive. Inside, grayish flakes. I scooped some into a heavy-walled glass beaker, precise as a lab tech, then dripped in distilled water with a pipette. Hiss, instant reaction. Flakes dissolved, belching blinding white fumes and fierce heat. The beaker scalded. Liquid churned, turning viscous and slick, like hot fat, reeking of danger. Exactly what I needed. Hot, saturated lye, strong enough to char flesh on contact. I waited for it to cool, then funneled the brew into an amber, light-proof glass dropper bottle with a long narrow tip. I sleeved the bottle in thick foam. Only water gurgle and chemical hiss broke the silence. Finished. I stripped goggles and gloves. Washed. The chemical tang lingered. On the counter the plain brown bottle looked like a piece of fine art. 7:40 p.m. city lights blinked on. I changed into black sweats. Cap. Mask. I tucked the bottle into an inner pocket. Beside it rested a razor-sharp folding knife, steel cold against skin. Out. Into the car. Destination. Chase's live-work loft. Parker had given me the address, a converted factory in a creative park with laughable security. The park was quiet, office crowd gone. I parked 2 blocks away in an alley without cameras and walked. Chase's loft topped a rehabbed warehouse. Hallway lights were half dead. I bypassed the lobby cam, climbed the rusted fire escape like a shadow. Quick. Clean. At the top the stairwell door stood ajar. Down a junk-lined hall light leaked from the last unit. Bass thumping. Chase's voice testing a mic. All right fam. Gear check done. 8:30 sharp. We'll drop so much tea you won't sleep. Giddy excitement laced every word. I leaned against cold wall, lifeless as stone. Minutes crawled. 8:25, music cut. Door lock clicked. Now. Door cracked. Chase leaned out. Purple silk shirt, hair styled, cheeks flushed with pre-show hype. He never saw me. The instant one foot crossed the threshold I struck, left hand snapping around his wrist, yanking him off balance. Right hand hammering the knife, but into the nerve at his neck. Ugh. He folded. I dragged him inside, slammed the steel door, locked it. 3 seconds. A ring light glared over an influencer set. Gaming chair. LEDs. Streaming software open. Countdown 2 minutes and 15 seconds. I hauled him under the light, pried his jaw, drew the brown bottle. Wake up, Chase. I murmured, voice flat. Your show's about to start. His dilated pupils found me, terror igniting. He twitched, gurgling, immobile. Heard you bedded someone else's girl? I angled the dropper over his bulging right eye. Let's see how that tastes. A single viscous bead gathered, swelling. His breath hitched into a squeal. The droplet hung, shimmering. Countdown 59 seconds. Cold numbers pulsed. 30 seconds. Chase's right eye, a crimson, saucer-wide, reflected the swaying droplet under the ring light. He tried to howl, managed only a hoarse rattle while tears and mucus smeared his face. Gloved thumb on the bulb. I watched through goggles as the screen glare bounced back. 10 seconds, 0. The stream went live. The camera filled with Chase's contorted, bleached face first, mouth yawning in silent scream. Online counter rocketed, hundreds, thousands, 10,000. Comments froze, then detonated. Holy shit, what's wrong with him? Bro, did he OD? This real? Call 911. Somebody help him. A shadow, cap, mask, goggles, flashed across the edge of frame, my sleeve. I shifted, pinching his jaw higher so the lens caught his bloodshot eye dead center. Chase, I said, toneless yet razor sharp. Say hi to your fans. Thumb squeezed. Plop. The bead fell, kissing his cornea. Arf. A shriek impossible for human lungs ripped through the speakers. His body convulsed as if electrocuted. Neck cords bulged. On 4K feed the world watched his eye whiten, blister, collapse like a snowflake on a griddle, opaque. Go! And blood bubbling out while wisps of vapor rose. My eyes can't unsee that. Is that acid? Murder. Calling cops now. Servers crashing. Chat scrolled faster than light. Viewer numbers doubled every second. And there I stood, calm, nudging the lens for an even clearer close-up of the dissolving eye. The carbonizing socket. The face warped into a vision of hell. Looks like... My voice rang out again, crisp and cold as a verdict against the backdrop of chaos. Shrieks and howls. Your eye isn't a fan of the appetizer. I let go of his chin. Chase toppled back like a severed tree trunk, slamming onto the freezing floor. Limbs jerking in senseless spasms. Throat rasping out nothing but wet, leaky gurgles. I stood, didn't spare the smoldering, twitching hunk of flesh another glance, and strolled to the computer, ignoring the detonating chat feed and the frantic red banners from the platform. I tapped the keyboard, still logged in as Chase. Stream title, updated. The new line, huge, blood red, bold, glared from the top of the channel like a gaping wound. Love trial. Stage 1, the eye. Next, at Willow, stay tuned, asterisk asterisk enter. Posted. Then I scooped up Chase's phone from the desk. No passcode. I opened WhatsApp, tapped the top contact. Babe Heartsuit Juan. Video call. Picked up on the first ring. Willow's flawlessly contoured face filled the screen. Warm fairy lights of her shop's back room behind her. She wore that trademark pouty wine. Chase. We're live in 5. Why? Sentence died midair. I'd flipped the camera. Under the harsh key light lay Chase. Curled up. Right eye a scorched crater oozing dark syrup. Each twitch sent half-clotted blood sliding down his cheek. He gurgled. A sound like a broken bellows. Willow's pupils blew wide. Every drop of color left her face. Lips trembled. No scream, only ragged gasps. I brought the phone to my masked mouth, eyes curving in a cold smile. Willow, my voice slid through the speakers straight into her eardrum while the mic funneled it to every viewer, blending with Chase's moans into a hellish remix. Your true love doesn't seem to handle pressure too well, does he? On screen, terror yanked her features into a mask. She stared at the bubbling socket until a raw, inhuman shriek tore loose. Chase. Chase. Who are you? What did you do? The howl threaded through the chat, servers groaning under the overload. Frames froze. Pixels melted, yet her scream sliced cleanly through every headphone still connected. I'll kill you. I'm calling the cops, she shrieked. I cut the call, tossed the phone beside him. One last blip of static and the feed winked to black, replaced by a scarlet notice, channel banned for extreme violence. Job done. I never looked again at the floor's twitching refuse. Gloves on. I wiped knob, desk, mouse, anywhere I touched. Calm, thorough. I slipped out the heavy loft door, pulled it shut, and descended the fire stairs, merging with Riverdale's night sirens. Back in the old Santana, engine turning over, I set my own phone to silent. Headlines barraged the lock screen. Top influencer attacked with acid on livestream. Starwave servers crash. Hashtag Levitriol trends worldwide. At Willow dragged into nightmare. Willow. The name felt like a thorn in my vein. I drove south. Skipped the empty apartment. Eastbrook's neon arteries pulsed as ever. I parked 2 blocks from the shop. Killed the lights. And waited under a burnt-out street lamp. The florist's glow looked fragile. Dreamlike. Through plate glass I saw blossoms spilling from buckets. Peonies. Snapdragons. Ranunculus, but no girl inside. She was probably at emergency intake, screaming at detectives while Chase's gurney rolled by. Midnight slipped past. 1 a.m. A white SUV screeched to the curb. Willow spilled out. Mascara streaked to her jaw. Keys rattling. She fought the lock, hurled the gate up, and staggered inside, flipping only the register lamp. Shoulders shaking, she collapsed over the counter, gasping or vomiting, maybe both. Time. I popped the trunk. Besides the empty duffel sat 2 factory-sealed 5-gallon gas cans, heavy with sloshing promise. I lifted one in each hand and crossed the silent street. The door wasn't locked. I eased it open. Chase. How? Who? Her muffled sobs drifted between racks of lilies. I cracked the first cap. Fumes bloomed. Willow's head snapped up. She spun, eyes wide, breath hitching at the gasoline reek. I swung. Glug, splash. The first cascade doused her blow-dried curls. Silk blouse. Cheeks, all of it running in clear, pungent rivulets toward every petal she'd arranged with my money. Zane. She recognized my silhouette against the streetlight. Voice fracturing. No answer. I unscrewed the second lid and poured again. Floor. Counter. Her shoes, bathing everything in the promise of fire. She slipped, palms slapping into the puddle, skittering like a trapped moth. Stop. You're insane. Empty cans clanged. I drew the cheap plastic lighter from my pocket. Thumb on the wheel. 7 years of your life, I stated. Flame flickering between us, paid for with my cash. Will it burn clean? I opened my hand. The tiny speck of fire pinwheeled down, kissed the lake of fumes. Whoosh. No slow build, only apocalypse. Orange claws exploded outward, swallowing stems, ribbons, lace, everything combustible, in a single breath. The air itself combusted with a hollow thump. Blossoms blackened, curled, vanished. Wood shelves groaned, popped, rained embers. Plate glass cracked, blew into the night trailing comet tails of sparks. Willow's shriek pierced the roar. Inhuman, raw, gasoline clung to her like napalm. She rolled, beat at her face, hairless scalp already blistered. Each twist fanned a fountain of sparks and the sick-sweet stench of roasting skin. Sirens swelled in the distance, red-blue strobes washing the block. Across the street I stood cool in the shadows, heat licking my cheeks but never touching the ice inside. The blossom's perfume, gone, replaced by the reek of charred cellulose and flesh. Betrayal used to flower here, now only ash blossoms. The inferno thundered on, devouring Willow's pastel dream, vomiting smoke to smother the stars while her screams dwindled to croaks inside the furnace she once called a shop. Fire trucks screamed closer. Too late for love. Too late for mercy. I watched until the roof sagged. Until orange became crimson. Until a final, wordless rasp escaped the pyre. Only then did I pocket my lighter, turn, and fade into the maze of alleys behind Eastbrook's humming bars. Somewhere a whistle shrieked. Hoses snaked across asphalt. Voices barked orders, but none of it reached me through the perfect, glacial hush that had finally settled in my chest. 7 years. Paid in full. Reduced to cinders. Exactly what they were worth. Sirens howled as patrol cars and fire engines skidded to the curb outside the flower shop. Blinding light bars bleached the inferno white. Cops snapped a perimeter while firefighters hoisted high-pressure hoses. White water jets slammed into the flames, hissed like freight trains, and threw up boiling curtains of steam. No one noticed me in the shadows. I turned and ghosted away, a drop sliding into the dark. Back in the rattling borrowed Civic, I keyed the starter, pulled clear of the noise and ruin. In the rear view the blaze shanked until glass towers swallowed it. The phone buzzed in my pocket. Mia. The name flickering on screen looked like a frantic fly. I thumbed accept and stayed silent. Zane. Big brother Zane. Mia's shriek came through shrill and warped. The shop, did you? And Chase. Willow. She. Words tumbled over one another. She'd obviously seen the alert. Was the water in Bali blue? I cut in, calm as asking about drizzle. The line went tomb still except for her ragged breath. Then a strangled gulp. I don't know. Zane. Listen. She made me. She said it was just fun. Your mouth, I said. Voice icing over, is dirtier than any ocean. No. Zane. You've got it wrong. Shut it. 2 chilled syllables. Watch those lips. Or the next thing love tests will be that leaking face of yours. I hung up. Blocked the number. Silence at last. I didn't drive to the rented apartment. Its job was done. Instead, I headed for a pre-leased storage shed on the edge of town. Bare concrete. A stack of cartons in one corner. I peeled off the gasoline-reeking clothes and the rubber gloves. Stuffed them into a steel drum. Doused them with starter fluid. And dropped a match. Flames roared up, erasing the last traces. I changed into a fresh set. By the time I finished, dawn was seeping through the skylight, carrying the faint smell of scorched cotton. I leaned against the cold wall and closed my eyes. I didn't see Willow writhing in orange fire or Chase's pulped socket. Random frames rolled instead. The college debate where she destroyed the opponent then covertly stuck her tongue out at me. The night she landed her first paycheck and dragged me to a food cart, sliding every scrap of grilled pork off the skewers onto my plate. The sparks in her eyes when she announced she wanted her own flower shop. They had once scalded me with warmth. Now they felt trapped behind a thick pane of dusty glass, blurred, chilled, dead. 7 years of sandcastles leveled by one treacherous wave. What remained was scorched earth. Weeds burned clear, nothing left to grow. I opened my eyes. Pale morning light filtered through the high vent. A new day was starting. Part of me, though, would stay in that ash forever. 3 days. Eastbrook felt like it had survived an earthquake. Headlines and timelines screamed about Chase mutilated. Willow critically burned. The flower shop gutted. Chase's formerly perfect face was pixelated. Yet phrases such as lie attack, permanently blind, wishing for death, let imaginations run riot. Ruined shots of Willow cycled endlessly, scorched beams, blackened bricks. Updates on Willow herself were bloodier, 65% full-thickness burns, airway scorched, still in ICU. Each word dripped. Police issued a reward. A grainy silhouette on the fire escape, me, and a night shot of a beige Civic with stolen tags, later found torched in the boonies, were the only leads. I had become the city's most infamous phantom. Mia vanished. Social accounts frozen. Phone off. No one knew where she'd run, and no one cared. The bally mouth that once gushed to true love was finally sealed. Evening of the 4th day. My phone lit with an encrypted ping, a single line plus GPS string. Target relocated. Private care facility. Top floor VIP lockdown. Security, high. Below it, a furtive corridor shot. A figure cocooned in gauze and a sterile gown lay on a gurney. Only the eyes showing. No light in them, just frozen agony. Willow. She had survived. If you could call it living. The marker pointed to an Ocean Cliff hospice in the ritzier East End. I deleted the text. Walked to a black dry bag in the corner. And unzipped it. Inside, a charcoal gray dive skin. Oxygen tank. Mask. Fins. And a dive knife whose serrated edge winked cold. Night is the best curtain. I drove to a deserted reef access 2 miles south of the compound. No moon. Briny wind smacked black waves against jagged rocks with dull booms. I suited up, shrugged into the tank. Neoprene sealed off the cold, and I snugged the knife against my calf. A deep inhale. Salt saturated my lungs. Mask on. World muted. Regulator between teeth. Metallic. Frigid. One step back and I slid into ink-cold darkness. Silence folded over me, broken only by my exhalation bubbles and the faint hiss of current along my suit. I was a fish returning home, plodding by GPS and marine charts. I skirted surveillance zones. 40 minutes in, a colossal concrete footing loomed, Seacliff Care perched on the clifftop, its premium ward jutting over open water. Target. The load-bearing pylons sunk deep into the seabed. I approached. Barnacles rasped my gloves. Columns rose like primeval ribs. The plan was surgical. Score. Crack. Stress. Not to topple the whole place. Just to drop the VIP wing into the drink.